We have a group that we think is in a position to be as competitive as any team in the American League. Our goal is to win the division, get into the playoffs, and take it from there.
That is Astros general manager James Click after a brilliant start to the regular season by his ball club, taking 3 out of 4 from a division rival and looking every bit the part of a World Series contender yet again. Good evening, everybody. Welcome once again to the Fox 26 Sports Stream. We appreciate you joining us wherever you find us online. As always, I'm Sal Manine, sports producer here at Fox 26. You can find us on our Facebook page. You can go to our website, fox26houston.com, or go to our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search Fox 26 Houston, and you can find us every Monday night just after 7 o'clock, where we're talking everything and anything under the sun in the Houston sports scene. And we got to start with arguably the best team in the city of Houston, especially now that college hoops is over, and that is the Houston Astros, who finally played games that actually counted in the standings as Major League Baseball kicked off the regular season a little bit later than originally expected, but they are playing 162, and the Astros got off to a wonderful beginning as they took 3 out of 4 in Anaheim against the revamped, retooled, repaid, everybody spending big money in the American League West, but the Angels not to be outdone by some of their other flashier counterparts in the division, and it didn't matter. The Astros still were able to handle business. It started with the starting rotation, but we saw Altuve going deep, Alex Bregman looking like his old self again, and then, oh, by the way, Jeremy Pena and family stealing the show Friday night. Is again, the Astros off to a 3-1 start. They're off today. They're going to play a 2-game set starting tomorrow in Phoenix against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Then they travel to Seattle to take on a team who a lot of people believe are the biggest contenders or the biggest threat to the Astros in the AL West. They'll take on the Mariners this weekend before finally returning to Minute Maid Park. And a week from today, they will play their home opener. But I mentioned it started with the starting rotation. Check out what the Astros starters did this weekend in staking Houston to that 3-1 advantage over the Los Angeles Angels. Actually could have been 4-0 if it wasn't that Noah Syndergaard, a new member of the Halos, looked like his old dominant self from the National League. But all 4 Astros starters completely on their game, combining for a sub-2 ERA. Only 4 earned runs allowed by Astros starting pitching over the 4-game set this weekend. A wonderful Ks to walk ratio. And again, this is without Luis Garcia toeing the rubber, and Lance McCullers Jr. obviously still rehabbing and will be expected to begin throwing sometime soon, and then they can start his ramp up. And James Click said it's going to be like him having to start spring training from the get-go, but everything's looking good on that front. And if the starters can go out and put up similar production, then there's no reason to think that the Astros cannot be there again in October. Justin Verlander, who basically missed 2 whole years after missing all of last year, recovering from Tommy John surgery. And then remember, he made that 1 start after they finally got the COVID year started in 2020, but then missed the rest of that season. He looked like the JV of old. He had the velocity there. He gave up, really, it was just 1 mistake, giving up a home run. And that was the one game that the Astros lost, was the one that JV started, but he got the better of Shohei Ohtani. So many people in baseball were waiting for that. The first time you would see the future Hall of Famer against the biggest name in baseball right now, and JV was able to handle Shohei the whole time. But if you're going to get that kind of production out of a Jose Urquidy and out of a Jake Odorizzi, Framber Valdez has proven it now for a couple seasons. You know that he is a solid member at the top of that rotation. Then the Astros have arguably the top rotation in the American League if they can stay healthy. So that's where it started on the offensive side of things, or on the defensive side of things with the pitching staff. And then offensively, Alex Bregman looks like the Alex Bregman we remember, who just today was named the American League Player of the Week. He and rookie Jeremy Pena actually lead the Astros, each picking up 6 hits in that series against the Angels. Bregman batting better than 400 in the 4-game set, a blistering OPS of 1,200. Couple home runs, 6 RBI, and then Jeremy Pena, who I mentioned, stole the show on Friday. Of course, if you were able to figure out Apple TV Plus and you were watching the game as they were interviewing the Pena family, who was in the stands to watch the big league career of this highly touted rookie get underway while they are on camera talking to Heidi Watney from Apple TV Plus. Pena leaves the yard, collected his first career hit and then his first career home run all in the same game. And he actually leads all of baseball right now in defensive assists, 17 defensive assists. We know the glove was always there for the kid. It's a matter of how quickly would the bat come around. And obviously one series does not a career make, but Jeremy Pena is certainly making people not have to think too long and hard about losing their old shortstop, who all of a sudden was missing games because it was snowing. They couldn't play their opener as scheduled up there in Minnesota, but that's a story for another time. Jeremy Pena getting it done is, again, the Astros take 3 out of 4 from LA. Now, the adage in baseball is you can't win the division in April or May, but you can lose it. And so you can't get too high or too low. But so far, if we think back to a week ago when we were looking at what are the big questions we have about the Astros going into the 2022 campaign, so far it looks like they're answering them. You want to talk Justin Verlander? We saw that. Jeremy Pena, we saw that. Production in center field, Jose Siri putting on a show, doing a little bit of everything, playing stellar defense, creating havoc on the base path. Chas McCormick swinging the lumber a little bit out there. And again, the entire rotation looking good. And is Bregman back? Yeah, I think to say Alex Bregman is back. So we'll keep an eye on how things progress, but so far, so good for the Astros. Like we said all of last year, though, and certainly after the first weekend, it does look like there are going to be quite a few teams in the American League that are going to be making a run at this thing. So obviously, as people adapt to the shortened spring training and how's that going to affect guys, and obviously we have a long season ahead of us, so what type of role do injuries play? But so far, there looks like there are going to be several teams out there that are going to be vying with Houston for the AL pennant. Toronto looks absolutely incredible on offense. And then they're not even leading their division right now because the only undefeated team in baseball is the Tampa Bay Rays. The Yankees took 3 out of 4 from their rivals, the Boston Red Sox, who were obviously in the ALCS a year ago. And then you can't count out the White Sox and the Mariners right there with 3 wins on opening weekend as well. So going to be a fun baseball season. And again, Stros off tonight. And so we will see how things progress once they start playing baseball again tomorrow. Again, just a 2-game set against the Diamondbacks in Arizona. All right, so baseball just getting underway. Something else just getting underway. Today is officially the start of the Texans offseason program. That means that today is the first day that players are allowed into the building and into the team facilities and can actually start working out with coaches and with their teammates under coach supervision. Anything that they need to get done as far as lifting, running, training, actual individual position work, team meetings, all that stuff, they can start doing it up at NRG. And so I was up there earlier today with Mark Berman, as Lovie Smith and his coordinators took some time to talk to the media before things really get going. The plan is to be out there, Lovie Smith said, every morning starting at 8 a.m. and they'll be able to practice. And then he said it's been great attendance because all these off-season workouts are voluntary. But as Lovey pointed out, when you only win 4 games, there's not really too much of an excuse not to be trying to make the most out of an opportunity to get in and work. And so that was one of the many things that Coach Smith addressed today. Obviously, the biggest question is, who is going to be the quarterback long-term for the Texans? What does Davis Mills look like in year 2? We know he's going to be the starter when things kick off in September, as long as he stays healthy. But what does his prognosis look like as now he is the guy, as now there is a lot of tape on him? He had that tremendous finish statistically to his rookie season. Can he be a franchise quarterback and a difference maker going forward? So that was certainly the big topic of conversation. Let's start with Lovie Smith, asked about Davis Mills and what he's anticipating from his second year signal caller out of Stanford.
This is our quarterback. So there's one thing about leadership. In order to lead, you got to show up. You got to be here. They have to see you in every situation, and not just on the football field. You know, for Davis, for the team to get a chance to know him just hanging out in the facility, just him being around us. Yes, the skilled guys, offensive guys, but the defensive guys too. That's why you get so much done in all season. When guys, we're not going to play a game tomorrow, just get a chance to know each other, hang out a little bit, and see that there's a lot of common things we have. I am a believer in him and what he's going to do. Eventually, he's got to do it all on the football field consistently, where everybody loves him, every snap and all of that. But before a guy has played enough to do all of that, it's just he shows up every day. Availability, he is available. And he has recruited other players to come here. And what the guys see him doing is just working. And when I say I believe in him, Pep Hamilton, second year in the system, all of these things. And if you just go back and look at the plays that he made, throwing the ball downfield last year, there's so many good things that he did. And that's as a rookie. The improvement that you see from year 1 to year 2 is normally, a big improvement. And that's what we're going to get from him. But just like every other position, he's going to take a few hits, strengthen his body, all of that. That's what we're doing with him now.
So Lovie not beating around the bush. He is already saying that Davis Mills is the guy. He is going to be the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans. Now, we did get a few minutes with offensive coordinator Pep Hamilton, who was obviously the passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach last year. So he has been with Davis Mills throughout his entire rookie season. Here's what Pep had to say on what he's expecting from the guy who he works with every day. And so he obviously sees things a lot closer than Lovie Smith, who obviously has to wear so many hats as the head coach and who, coming from a defensive background, isn't in the room as often as Pep Hamilton is. That's why he was able to go a bit more in depth with us about just what he wants to see from Davis Mills before he's ready to anoint him as a future star or at least a franchise quarterback in the NFL.
Heading into the second season, I think, the simple fact that, we're talking about Davis, as potentially being our starting quarterback, it's going to be really important that he brings a certain level of consistency every day in the meeting rooms, in the weight room, out on the field with our guys and the strength coaches, as well as continuing to work to understand NFL defense so that he can go out and play faster. First and foremost, we have to speed up our drops. That's a big part of staying on schedule in the passing game. We have to continue to work on managing the pocket and keeping our eyes downfield. There's a lot of times when we get off schedule and we moved off our spot. There's a spot that we typically set up at the top of our drops. Well, if you have to move off your spot, you just want to maintain your throwing posture, keep your eyes downfield, and continue your progression. And if it means finding your check down, we'll do just that.
And I like it. Pep Hamilton wanted to keep the young guy grounded, not just buy into, hey, you had a really good month of December and you won some games that you shouldn't have. And statistically, you finished right up there with Mac Jones, who obviously took a lot more snaps, that he's already going into this thing saying you're going to have to step things up there's a lot of area that you can improve if you are Davis Mills. But you heard Lovie Smith allude to it. He's already doing everything you want from your quarterback in terms of off the field, organizing involuntary workouts. If you just peruse social media, you see all kinds of pictures or snaps, Instagram stories of Davis Mills bringing his receivers, bringing the other quarterbacks, bringing other offensive guys to him in the offseason, saying, let's work together, let's throw, let's catch, let's build that chemistry. So even though he isn't coming in with all the fanfare of all the quarterbacks who are going to be taken in the first round in the draft in a couple weeks, and obviously he doesn't have the cloud of what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson hanging over his head, he's just putting his head down and going to work. So there's a big difference between year one is you start as the backup quarterback and then you're just kind of thrown into the fire, versus now there's a whole lot of tape out on you. You're handed the reins from day one, and now people really want to see inside the building down there on Kirby, can you be the face of this franchise long term and the guy who's going to lead the Texans back? Obviously, they have a lot more to do than just the quarterback position. Lovie Smith addressed at length the cornerback position, saying that's somewhere that as a whole, they just have to play better football, and especially for the type of defense that Lovie Smith likes to run, that corner is something that just as a group they have to get better at. So does that mean that they're definitely going to go after a Sauce Gardner or a Derek Stingley, the kid out of LSU? Obviously, if the Texans stay at 3, there's going to be no shortage of talented guys that they can pick from, whether it's one of the edge rushers like a Kayvon Thibodeau or Aiden Hutchinson, should he somehow fall. Obviously, a couple really good offensive line prospects, the 2 DBs I just mentioned, and Kyle Hamilton, who, measurables aside in terms of just game tape, the best safety coming out of college football this past year. So we'll get a bit more into what might the Texans do in the draft as that gets a little bit closer. But again, the start of off-season workouts today. They will begin practicing in the morning. We'll hear from the players tomorrow. So make sure you're tuning into Fox 26 and that you are following Mark Berman on Twitter, and you'll get all the updates from what's going on at Texans off-season workout. So while things are beginning anew for the Texans and their offseason program, the offseason is just starting now for the Houston Rockets, who saw the regular season come to an end yesterday. Another loss, falling to the Atlanta Hawks. A very familiar script if you've watched the Rockets this year. They fall behind, then they make a run, get back in it. It's actually a close game in the second half for a little bit, and then they just don't have enough to dig themselves out of that hole, end up losing 130-114 to Atlanta. So Houston finishes 20-62. They lock up the worst overall record in the NBA, which doesn't mean much as far as they're going to be tied with 2 other teams for who has the best odds at securing the number 1 overall pick. But by finishing alone with the worst record in the league, it guarantees the Rockets a top 5 pick. So unless a bunch of ping pong balls just don't go their way, they are not going to fall any lower than drafting 5th overall. But obviously they will be tied with the 2nd and 3rd to last teams in the standings. All 3 will have a 14% chance of landing the number 1 overall pick. So who is that going to be? We can get into that obviously as we get closer to the NBA draft. But from what you just saw in terms of watching the game, and again, I mentioned yesterday, kind of followed a familiar script. It also followed a familiar script in terms of the play of last year's first round draft pick, since the Rockets had a handful of them, Jalen Green, who today was named the Western Conference Rookie of the Month for the month of March and April. If you actually look at Jalen's final 32 games, so this is the entire month of February, March, and April, and it basically is once he came back from injury and then it took him a while to find his footing, he's been arguably the best rookie in the NBA in that span. In that time, 32 games, averaging better than 20 points, 3 assists, almost 3.5 rebounds, less than 2 turnovers a game, and a huge jump in the shooting percentages, shooting almost 40% from 3-point range, 75% from the line, and of course, 47% from the field. There's no reason to think that he should not land on the first team all rookie squad. And if he didn't get injured, if he didn't have that slow start to the year, he would certainly be in the conversation for rookie of the year. That's kind of the only reason that he's not going to be mentioned alongside a Scotty Barnes or Evan Mobley in those terms. And as far as how he finished the year, it's everything you would want from the second overall pick. His efficiency was a lot better. His defense is actually a lot better. If you look at the first 35 games he played versus the last 32, improved significantly defense, and certainly from a plus minus perspective. Let's hear from Jalen Green on how the year ended and what he's anticipating now as he turns his attention to the offseason.
We didn't have the season we wanted to, but we showed glimpses and things like that of what we can be. So I would hope that everyone, the fans, everyone around us just has hope that we're going to be great soon.
We're going to be great soon, and you can see that the Rockets, as young as they are, really believe that they are building something. And that starts with their head coach, Stephen Silas, who was asked about what was going through his head as the final seconds ticked away on the 2021-2022 season yesterday, and his message to the guys as they get ready for the offseason. Here's Stephen Silas.
As far as the results of the season, definitely disappointing, but the growth that we've seen, and I guess the feeling that I felt as the season drained away with the last few seconds is a feeling of pride and just proud of these guys, because it's hard. It's a hard season. Growing pains are really hard. Just making sure that they understand a few things: how hard it is to win in the NBA, and how they should be proud of themselves, but how we also have work to do going forward. And when we're in a position where, this is what I told the team, but when we're in a position where we're knocking on the door of the playoffs and winning a playoff series and ultimately winning it all, remember this feeling, because it's pretty raw right now, as far as being so proud of them, feeling for them that they went through such a tough season, but also just like the people, how they stayed together throughout the whole thing. So that's kind of what I was thinking at the time, and that's what I expressed to the group after the game was over.
And so you can see that that's a coach who is kind of grappling with the awkward position you find yourself in when you are in a rebuild mode like the Rockets are. And that if you're a coach, if you're a player, you are programmed to compete. Like, that's what gets you out of bed every day. You go out there every day wanting to win. But you have such a young roster. You have so many guys who have never played a lick of professional basketball, let alone being thrown into the mix of having to navigate an 82-game season, that you're going to have those growing pains. And so it's tough to finish with what's on paper. You look at it and go 20 wins only against 62 losses versus, as far as how do guys pass the eye test, how do they look now as we enter the second week of April versus going all the way back to October when they first showed up to training camp. And you can see that progression. And I mentioned again that it starts with Jalen Green, who is the centerpiece of this rebuild right now for the Rockets. Stephen Silas was asked about Jalen's progression and how he's seen his young guard, who, again, cannot legally purchase a drink right now. That's how young Jalen Green is. And yet he still sees nothing but the sky in the future of Jalen, who is changing his name, his number, by the way. He did confirm last night that going forward, he will revert back to the number he used to wear in the G League and in high school, and will no longer be rocking the 0. He'll be number 4. But here's Stephen Silas on Jalen Green.
He cares a lot. He really just cares a lot, and he wants to be great, which is, a lot of people want to be great, but I think he can be great. It's a natural progression. I've seen it time and time again. Like when I first came into the league, my rookie was Baron Davis, and he didn't even start. And then his second year, he was really good. And then, LeBron, the difference between his first year and his second year, and Steph, the difference between him and his first year and second year, and Kemba and Luka, same thing. How the game slows down for those guys who are really good and special, but it really is about who they are as people and the belief that they have in themselves.
And even though he's just a first-time head coach, Stephen Silas has been around the block. Obviously, the son of a former coach and former player, and Paul Silas, he's been with his dad on the sidelines and then forged his own path as an assistant coach for more than 20 years. So that's why he can drop names of guys with whom he's worked and who he has coached from their rookie year onward. So he's seen the likes of LeBron and Luka, who instantly came into the league and looked like adults already, even though they were just teenagers. He's also seen guys like a Baron Davis or a Steph Curry who maybe took a year or 2 or 3 before they eventually turn the corner and become the super duper stars. Remember, there was a time that Steph Curry was not the 2-time MVP, first ever unanimous MVP, that, oh yeah, there's that plucky kid from Davidson, can't stay healthy. He's not going to be able to hold up in the physical game of the NBA. He's too small, and obviously worked at it and has proven everybody wrong. Think back to even Ja Morant, who won Rookie of the Year, and then the leap you still saw him take. So if Jalen Green can build off of the tremendous finish he had to his year, and it's something that Coach Silas did talk about after the game yesterday, that now going forward, even though teams started to do it at the end of this season, every scouting report for the Rockets is going to start with Jalen Green. How do you stop him? How do you slow him down? How do you make him work? He's going to start to see a lot of different varieties of defense, even as we started to see that the last few weeks of this campaign, in terms of how teams want to guard him, what they want to try to make him do. So the league's going to adapt to Jalen, and now it's up to Jalen to adapt back, while also still working on the physical part of getting bigger, faster, stronger. So all the Rockets started going through exit interviews after the game last night and then again today. So make sure you tune into Fox 26 News at 9 for much more on what all the players and, again, Coach Silas and even General Manager Rafael Stone had to say about putting a bow on the 2022 season, and now as they enter the offseason and hope to build something and get the Rockets back into playoff contention. Should point out as well, not only did Jalen Green nab Western Conference Rookie of the Month honors, he dropped 41 against the Hawks in the season finale. First time a Rockets rookie has hit the 40-point plateau since the Dream. So not bad company, something that has been quite a long time coming for Rockets fans here in Houston. So that's going to do it for us here on this installment of the Fox 26 Sports Stream. Again, we will have more on the Rockets and the Texans tonight on Fox 26 News at 9. Plus, Mattress Mac is at it again, bringing another very recognizable name and face to Gallery Furniture and to Houston, who will be getting involved in the community, and then we'll be at Mac's Place up there on the North Freeway if you want to come pay him a visit. So we will have that story for you. And of course, for all the up-to-the-minute news, scores, updates, anything that's going on in the world of Houston sports, you got to make sure you're following our sports director, Mark Berman. You can find him on Twitter, his handle at Mark Berman Fox 26. We do also want to point out that the USFL will officially kick off this weekend. Remember, all the games are being played in Birmingham, Alabama, because when they were setting it up, it was just easier because of all the COVID protocols. They're starting it off this first year, everything at one central location. But there is a Houston team. The Houston Gamblers are back. No Jim Kelly this time around, but Kevin Sumlin as the head coach. They'll play their first game on Sunday morning, but Saturday is when the first USFL game kicks off. You can catch that right here on Fox 26. So until then, and then until next Monday when you can check us out again on the Sportstream, we appreciate you coming along for the ride. For everybody here at Fox 26, I'm Sal Manine. We'll see you soon. Take care.